Hey, everyone. Oh, I see a bunch of people in the chat there. Hey, I'll say hi to everybody in just a moment. Well, welcome to my live stream. JL Warren here and Bridge the Divide. So good to see everyone. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I have to apologize first for not streaming yesterday. I got caught up in some stuff here at the house that we had to deal with. And it kind of like overtook me and I just didn't have the time. I didn't want to jump on really super late. So here I am streaming on a Sunday. So I know it's kind of weird, but wanted to get my weekly stream in so I can say hi to everybody, check in with everyone, see how everyone is doing. And of course, talk about some stuff that's whatever's going on out there, or weird stuff in this weird world we live in. But I also want to take a look at a video today that I came across, what I found to be very, very interesting. Which hopefully Johnny O will be joining me tonight so that we can actually take a look at this. We're going to review it real quick and kind of run through it. It's about philosophy, and which is something that kind of interests me. So just giving you a heads up, if there's no interest to you, then you don't have to hang around and watch it. But I'm very interested in this because it's about the stagnation of philosophy and, like what good it serves academically wise, what progress does it make? And it's a really interesting kind of like topic. And I know Johnny has an interest in philosophy. I have a huge interest in it. I'm bigger in the science side, like, that which makes progress, that which makes predictions, that which, like actually answers questions instead of just asking them. And so I kind of wanted to like go through this because I watched it last night. I was like, this is really kind of cool. So I want to get his info on it, see what he thinks. But let's take a look at what's going on in the live chat. I see a whole bunch of people there. Let's see. I don't see who was first, but I do see Glober Mom saying that they're second. So hi, Glober Mom. Good to see you. All right. And D. Elwood is third. Third, or I guess second. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, I see Johnny has messaged me. So let me get him a link real quick. And I love having guests on here. It's always so much fun. And let me message him that. Boom. We should get him in the green room here shortly. All right. Let's see. While he's popping in, let's take a look. Bob Nodell's Gyroscope's in the house. Good to see you, Bob Nodell. Good evening to you. Says JL, hey there, good sir. Bed early for me tonight. Early start in the morning. Give my best wishes to Otangelo. If he shows up, we'll watch the stream tomorrow at some stage. Will do. Yeah, I appreciate that, Bob. I hope you have a good rest and a good early morning. He probably won't. I'll say this. He probably will not, because he got really, really mad in the last live stream when he got proven to be, when it was demonstrated that he was lying. When the very astute people who are in this audience caught him in that lie. I called him out on it. Then everybody, I was in the middle of a live stream, but then everybody else, the incredibly, I guess, aware individuals in my live stream or in my audience, discovered that he was lying his ass off. In fact, I've watched him defend the very thing that he said. I've watched the debate where he defended the very thing that he said he never defended. So yeah, he probably won't, because he got really pissed. He started spamming my live chat and then got banned because he just started like spamming all caps over and over again. You're liars, blah. And then so the mods banned him. And then, of course, I think he popped up. I'm pretty sure it was him that popped up and started porn spamming us, because that happened way too quick. I've done weeks of live streams and never been porn spammed. And then the minute Otangelo starts like, I hate to use the term spurging out because it's a reference to like Asperger's. But he freaked out. The minute he started freaking out and started like spamming, then all of a sudden we ban him. And then all of a sudden, not 5 minutes later, we start getting porn bombed. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that was him. And of course, the moderators are on top of it. They handled that, so it would shut everything down. But I don't know if I don't think he'll show up. He's really, really mad at me, like really pissed, because he thinks that I'm like misrepresenting him, calling him a liar, and I didn't. The evidence was there. We've heard it. The links were put up. So I don't know. So I guess he'll just sit in his echo chamber talking with Darth from this point on. But you never know. Otangelo has done crazier stuff before. He may show up. So I guess we'll find out. D. Elwood, and a member of the Godless Army. Thank you, D. Elwood, and good evening to you. D. Elwood says that's his name mentioned twice more, and he'll show up. And I think there has to be like a sacrifice of a mitochondria to get him to show up. I think it's part of the ritual. Who else we got here? Maximal says, hello, fellow Terrans. Hello, Maximal. Good to see you. Donnie Does That's in the house says, hey, everybody. Turing Test 2. Good to see you. Another member of the Godless Army. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good to see you. Facty's in the house says, hey, y'all. What's going on, Facty? And then Commander Darklight, one of my amazing supporters here and over at my podcast, Week in Horror, supporting, all of us, Johnny O, Eugene, Alex, all of our efforts over on that one. Thank you so much, Commander Darklight. He is the man. Oh, there's Johnny O. Let's add him to the stream. Pow!
What
Johnny, what's up?
Well, my blood pressure, but we'll be all right.
Oh yeah. Or as we used to say, back in the day, nothing but the rent. So
nothing but that's true. Yeah. That's coming soon, but whatever. We'll deal with that when that ship sails.
Yep. All right. Now see, there's Bob says, hey there. Oh yeah, Bob.
So wait a minute. I hear that Otangelo is still mad at you.
Oh, he is so mad at me.
What did you do this time?
He thinks that I lied about his position because of the version of the found arc that he was defending. He said that he's never defended like one person who said they found the arc, and he defended someone else's version of finding the arc. And then I went back, and then a friend of mine posted up a link in Discord, and it's like, this is where he was. And it was like, so yeah, the arc that he was defending, he said he never defended because he realized after the fact that it was bunk. It was just a rock formation. So he says that we were lying. Everyone was calling him out on it, and he was like, no, you're a liar, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, no, here's the link. Here's the evidence that you at one time defended the version we're talking about. And then he got pissed, started spamming the chat, got banned. And then like less than 5 minutes later, we started getting porn bombed. So
what's the difference? Neither one of them are.
Yeah, neither one of them are real, so it doesn't matter.
I found a ghost. Oh, did you? That's nice.
Oh yeah. So, but he's really mad. He freaked out here. Then he found me on Discord, and he started.
Oh, that's what he was bitching to, Darth. That's why you got brought up with Darth Dawkins.
Yeah. And he's like,
I was in his chat, and he
lied about me, and
he told people that I was not a very good person.
So yeah, he wants to go out there, and he went on Discord and started like, yeah, Jared's jail's a piece of shit, and he's a liar, and blah blah blah, and they're all like this and yada like that, and it was like, okay, it's like whatever. So he did his thing, and then he complained to Darth. They made it onto a Tom Rabbit, which I thought was hilarious, and nonetheless, but it was in response to somebody asking if Otangelo might show up. It's like, if he shows up, tell him hi for me. It was Bob Nodell. And I was like, I will certainly do that, but I don't know if he will, because he's really, really mad at me. He's mad at everybody.
Well, JL, when you misrepresent my position.
So if he shows up, he shows up. If not, I don't know if he will. I think the odds are slim. Let's see. Trude Hell is in the house. Is Geki. Good to see you, Trude Hell. Thank you so much. And who else we got? Cygnus TSP with the donut earth emoji. Thank you so much, Cygnus. Good to see you. John Papiano's in the house. Says, what up? Maximal, good to see you. Oh, thank you very much. Nice beard. He says, nice beard. I appreciate it. My wife had a blast making it pink. So, and I may have to touch it up.
JF, I would agree, JF. However, he's not.
I would know Darth is a very convoluted satire. There was the conspiracy theory that Darth and Tom are actually the same person.
That would be the troll of the century right there.
That would be the troll of the century. That'd be worthy of a documentary. That would.
Yes, it would. Yes.
So Many Hanged Men is in the house. Good to see you. Says, who cares about college today? That starts at 8 a.m. when I can watch JL till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Goddamn right. That's damn right. Thank you. Good to see you, Many Hanged Men. Facty, we'll be taking a look at a video here real quick. I found it to be really, really interesting last night, and I wanted to get some other people's takes on it. And
is that the Master Chief head in the closet back there?
That is the Master Chief head in the closet back there.
Cool. I'm not seeing shit.
Yeah, that's the Master Chief helmet back there. I'll have to move him when I get Jason, because Jason just like
I have to move everything.
I measured the dimensions of the door, and he may actually have to be in the closet,
like half in, half out.
Yeah, he may, because I don't know if I can set him in the door.
That would be kind of cool. Is he posable at all, or is he static?
I'm pretty sure he's a little bit articulatable. That you can adjust where the machete stands. So
that would be cool. Like have him like popping out of the closet with a machete.
That'd be kind of neat, yeah. And of course, with the lighting, with the
Oh
very cool light that I
you're
got that I'm going to put in there. So with that light, it's going to look really, really neat. So I'm looking forward to it when he gets done. All right, let's see who else we got. Christopher Music Channel is in the house. Good to see you. Dagnation, stagnation, the stagnation of philosophy. All right, and the Jord said is in the house. Good to see you, and the Jord. Robert Caslow says, "What's up, my globe tards? Good to see you." Robert Caslow, butt rocks are wood.
Butt rocks are wood.
JF says defamation lawsuit is imminent. Imminent. I can't even speak tonight. Imminent.
That means it's on the way, okay, JL? I mean, it's going to come down the pipeline, and then you're going to have to sit in front of the judge and listen to him laugh at Otangelo for bringing you in the court.
That would be hilarious. I would so show up. I wouldn't even hire an attorney. I wouldn't. I wouldn't even need to. I would just show up and just
look. This is not legal advice, anybody, but always take an attorney, no matter what, no matter how in the bag.
Yes, a person who represents themselves, represents themselves as a fool for a client.
Yes,
agreed.
Fool for a lawyer.
Even
lawyers hire lawyers.
Exactly, but in Otangelo's case, I wouldn't even do it. I wouldn't even need to. I would just let him because just let him go first. He's like, he's a complainant. He can go first, state his case, and just watch him just feed him the rope to hang himself. That's all I do.
Your Honor, what happened is I participated in a debate with and he called me a liar.
So, Christopher Music Channel says, all caps, the first refuge of the conspiratards. Very true. Ooh, Monkey in the Works in the house. Another member of the Godless Army. Thank you so much, Monkey in the Works. Says Otangelo is a liar for Jeebus. This is very true. Who else we got? Let's see. Oh, there's Ryan and Nance. Good to see you, Ryan and Nance. Thank you so much for coming in. And Robert Castle says Broncos are getting beat. Oh, bummer. Denver.
So, I was supposed to dye this beard Friday night, right? The wife was going to do it and everything. I dyed it myself, and it did not come out very good.
You got to bleach it.
I did. I started with the thing that the lady at the
so it was fully blonde. It was fully blonde.
The part that the part that I was dyeing pink. Yes.
Okay.
It's just a little. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I need to put another coat of dye.
Did you use dye or did you use Manic Panic?
I used dye.
I would have used Manic Panic.
Well, look. Okay, I don't know what Manic Panic is outside of.
I talked about it. It's literally that 90s hair dye gel that you put in there, leave for 30 minutes, and then you wash it out, and boom, you're done.
I mean, it's basically what I do. It's the same thing. It's just not called Manic Panic.
All of our girlfriends did this, in the 90s.
You assume I had a girlfriend in the 90s.
You had a girlfriend in the 90s.
I didn't. I really didn't. I'm serious. Yeah, I was. I moved around so much. I was like the awkward, weird kid to try to fight everybody. So you had a boat in every port. Is what you had. That's what I did. I had to have a girlfriend. I had hose. I'm kidding. I didn't have any of that stuff. And the George says case would be thrown out before your day in court. Yeah, most likely if a judge saw that come across the desk, he would toss it. So it depends on the judge, but I'm willing to bet there's a judge out there who would see this case, depending like in Texas, probably a judge out there would like, you know what? I'm going to see this case just because. Just because I wanted just to break up the monotony. Just because I want to put a face to this fucking idiots who think that this is a thing. I want to hear him in court. I want to hear him recorded in court. I want that voice a part of the public record so that everybody can source it and be like, go listen to this guy make his arguments. It's hilarious. I just go to Tom Rabbit. He's on there a few times. Oh, yeah. Ryan and Ann says, I got a collection of comics of the day, and in the mix, I found one that I think should go to Week in Horror from 1967 Mad Monster Party. Oh, badass. Very cool. Little treasure trove right there. That's cool. Awesome. Appreciate that, Ryan and Ants. Contact me. Message me, for any details that you might need. Lawler's Corner's in the house. Says, good day, humans. Good to see you, Lawler's Corner. And Daryl M is in the house. Says, hello, everyone. Good to see everybody, and so many awesome members of the Godless Army. Robert Picasso says Johnny O is a playa. It says playa. That means a beach. He's calling it playa. So I appreciate all of the members of the Godless Army. As is a recent development in the past couple of weeks, you can join. I have memberships available, and those memberships come with perks. You get the Atheist Scientist badge for being a member of the Godless Army, and of course, you get access to all of the emojis that I can make for you. Of course, the more members we get, the more cool emojis I can make for you. And I've got some waiting in the wings for when we get to the next
segment, I guess, the next tier, whatever YouTube is described, it's arbitrarily, determined what the next tier for emojis is. Hey, Leo Bates says, hey, bud, good to see you, Leo Bates. Thank you so much. And of course, this memberships are only 99 cents a month because that's pretty much how much I value the content that I put out. It's pretty much the bare minimum. But it's fun, and I have a blast doing this, and I love giving you guys a good laugh and maybe sometimes a little bit of information you might not have had. So while we're here, so the reason I called you up was because I wanted to take a look at a video, and I think I'm going to have to share my screen because I've never done this on StreamYards.
No, you could. Which video is it, or what kind of video is it?
It's a YouTube vid.
You have 4K downloader, right?
I do.
Just rip it, and then you can share it via video on there, and still be able to control it.
Oh, okay. So I don't have to share screen.
Right.
I can just share the vid. Oh,
right. Yeah.
This is why I have you around.
That's what I do. It's the only reason why you keep me around. Week in Horror.
Well, you're a lot smarter than I am. So
you guys heard that? Clip that shit.
You are, yeah. You are a lot smarter than I am. No, I don't want to download the whole playlist. Don't want to download the whole
hours.
Why is it taking so long?
17 hours. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting vid. I came across it last night, and it put some things in perspective for me regarding philosophy.
Which video is this?
It's called the Stagnation of Philosophy. It came out 6 days ago.
Okay, who put it out?
This cat is Anti-Citizen X.
Not familiar, but all right.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with it. It just popped up in my feed. I love stuff like this. Oh, do you want to know something really, really cool?
What's up?
This is why I love YouTube. Occasionally, I really love YouTube. While this is downloading real quick, I found just random in my feed. There is a group out there that has a small channel, roughly a little over 2,000 subscribers, that is doing an audio drama adaptation of Stephen King's Dark Tower.
Interesting.
And I got in touch with them, and I requested I'm going to audition for them.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is pretty badass. So I think
I
think there's a number of voices I think I could do in there. The one I kind of have my heart set on that I think I could do really, really well is a character that I've always loved in that story, the character of Court. And I think I could do his voice extremely well because I always liked that character a lot. But I think I could read for all of them. So I requested sides for all of the male characters that were in my age range, and I'll just record the lines via MP3. I'll send them into them and see what they think. Now that I have things set up where I can sound good audio wise, and then I'll record this and send them off to them. Fingers crossed. I think Court would be badass. Of course, voicing Roland would be sweet because that means you're pretty much guaranteed for 7 seasons because each season is a book, and 7 books in it. So it would be awesome. But just to be Court would be sweet. I mean, I love that character. Walter O'Dim would be cool. And it's all kind of like variations with different inflections on the Southern accent, and it's that's easy to do. And with my background in Funimation, I'm hoping that I could do something. I'm not saying I'm going to get it, but I was like, I have to do this. So I'll definitely.
That's cool. It's cool to audition.
Yeah, I'm going to audition for that, and the trailer for it is actually out. That's how I came across it. I saw the trailer, and he was like, "Coming soon." So I looked at the details, and it's like it has, and they said we'll begin casting soon. So I emailed him and was like, "Dude." Oh no, I didn't. I wasn't like that. I was like, "Hi, my name is Dale."
You should have said, "Dude."
I was like, "Dude,
I want to audition, bruh."
Yeah, and it was kind of like, so I messaged him. Was like, "Hey," he's like, "Sure, let me get to the details." I'm like, "Sweet." So hopefully we'll see what comes of that. I'll keep people.
Robert Caslow was trying to give you my role.
You can play the finger puppet in The Shining.
Mrs. Torrance. Red Rob.
I
used to have my son run around every now and again, do that to Erica. I'd say, "Hey, Evan, come here." He was like 4 or 5 years old. I said, "Dude, put your finger up like this," and then go up to him and go, "Red Rum."
Red Rum. And the George said, "No, I have not seen Let There Be Carnage yet. The second Venom film, I have not seen it. I will probably see it when it comes out on digital, but I already know what happens in it, and I already know what the mid-credits scene is. A lot of people
how
were
does
like,
Woody Harrelson continue to get gigs outside of Zombieland?
oh, because he's Woody Harrelson. He's amazing.
He's not that good.
Oh, he's quite good.
He's
But
good.
I haven't seen the movie. I will see it. The reason I'm not like pumped to go see Venom, and I wasn't, and I waited till it came up on Stars, and I watched it when it came on the streaming platforms, is because I understand the MCU wise. I'll probably jump on the Venom train when they finally bring Spider-Man into it. And I know the mid-credit scene, I don't want to do any spoilers. The mid-credit scenes involves how they're going to bring Venom into the MCU. So, however it goes, I don't know. It seemed a little bit forced in my opinion. It seems just like, oh, well, we'll just put you in. So I don't know. We'll find out.
Do what that, Well, not going to finish that joke. Not going to do it.
Yeah. All right, let me see here. Let me find okay, finished, good, and the folder, and then move to the desktop. Pow. Good times. So we'll go here, and then I will go here, share video. Okay, so, oh, no, there we go. And there we go. Share that.
Getting into medical school.
Okay, so, and we can just be here.
Those kids look terrified.
Yeah, it's the clip art is kind of interesting in this. Okay, so this video is called The Stagnation of Philosophy, and I want to make sure that people know that it's The Stagnation of Philosophy by Anti-Citizen X. Put it out about, I think it was 6-7 days ago, but it was about a week ago. And I found this really, really interesting. I thought I'd really to get your take on it. So, and it's nothing that we're going to be like, heckling or jeering at, but this is really interesting to me, and it might be interesting to some other people. So
sure.
Let's take a look.
Imagine getting into medical school.
Can you hear that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And sitting down for your very first day of class. As a scholarly-looking professor approaches the lectern, you eagerly get out your pen and paper in anticipation for all the amazing knowledge coming your way. Welcome to the foundations of medicine, says the professor.
I have to admit, his voice work is actually pretty good through this.
Yeah.
And there's something coming up around the 8-minute mark I want people to look for.
Hope you're all as excited as I am to explore the vast, wonderful world of healing. At first, everything seems to progress normally, but it's not long before you notice an unsettling trend. Rather than just teach students about the modern understanding of the human body, the instructor seems to fixate on the strangest of topics. For weeks, you suffer through lecture after lecture on wholly discredited practices like bloodletting, trepanation, phrenology, and homeopathy. Eventually, about halfway through the semester, the professor seems to settle down with more sensible topics like cell biology and the germ theory of disease, but it doesn't last. Before you know it, you're suddenly delving right back into the medicinal theories of feng shui, acupuncture, and demon possession.
Okay, so Johnny, when you were in college, did you deal with something similar to this?
No, not really, because I didn't get into this field. My sciences were not as involved as this stuff because, again, I was in the arts area. I was in the art school, not the sciences school.
So yeah, in psychology, when pursuing that, this is one of the reasons this caught my attention, because this was exactly it. Now, for psychology, it's different. There were all kinds of, but it does take you through the whole kind of like the philosophy of studying the mind, and in going through that, you start really they really dive deep into like the ancient stuff, like the thing when it was spirits in your head or demon possession, exactly like that, when you're going through, when people are trying to understand this stuff, and you spend an inordinate amount of time studying these, like, oh, we're talking ancient thinking. Right. It's like, what does this have to do with anything in this respect? But we'll get to this point here. Oh, John Fabiano says, as my lovely wife is a cancer survivor, I love your beard, big guy. It is my pleasure, John. Congratulations to your wife. And yeah, that just tickles me pink. Yeah, and I'm so glad that she's doing better. And it is my pleasure to support those who are currently fighting, have survived, and the future people who will be fighting against breast cancer. So hopefully this will bring the awareness. Links to support the Pink Fund are in the description of this video for anybody who would like to and are able to support.
You've got two spots. You can either do a PayPal donation that goes to a specific fund for this thing, or you can do a direct donation. Either way, not going to hurt my feelings as long as you, if you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. Yep. No big deal.
Yep. Cool.
Baffled by this outcome, you begin to wonder, was this class some sort of outlier? Maybe the university just wants to give students some historical context before teaching the real, practical stuff. So you decide to take a look at the undergraduate catalog, and strangely enough, the entire School of Medicine is like this. In order to officially earn your medical credentials, you must endure such classes as Medicine in Literature, God, Faith, and Healing, Women in Early Oncology, Medieval Pharmacology, Meta-Medicine, Eastern Ophthalmology, Medical Justice, Spirituality in Cardiology, Survey of Early Modern Medicine. After investigating even further, you eventually come to learn that this isn't even a local phenomenon. It's a widespread practice among every accredited medical school across the Western world. Surely, given such a predicament, the only sensible response is to drop the entire ordeal and change majors, right?
Yes. Yes, I agree.
that was almost my inclination when we started getting it because there's a lot of psychology you got to go through before you get into forensic and abnormal psychology. So, all your behavioral psychology, child psychology, developmental psychology, you start from the beginning, you start from the bottom and you work your way up. And I was like, there's a lot of work before you get into abnormal psychology, forensic psychology. When you start taking applied sciences,
but that's the thing. You got to think about stuff like that, right? When you're talking about any of that stuff, even if you take a look at, music majors, you don't just jump into fucking, trying to play Mozart and Bach and whatnot. You got to start out at, well, here are your scales and here's this. You got to start at the beginning. And I would imagine that would be for anything. You don't just jump into brains. Yeah, right.
Music theory is a thing. Yes,
right. Really, exactly. You don't just jump into fucking brain surgery. Like, all right, here's your brain surgery class. Like, no, you got to build up to that shit. Let's start out with learning what a brain is.
tell our primitive ancestors that when they were tapping holes in people's skulls to
but again, hence the reason you don't just jump into brain surgery class.
We gotta let the ghosts out. Oh, you need an ear nail. You need a donkey kicking.
Woodpecker.
Yes, Robert Caslow. This is starting to sound scary. Yeah, it does a little bit. But this is
what you need to remember is that all your doctors went through all these classes before recommending the things they recommend to you.
Yes.
Right? Sensible that is for anyone but a philosophy major. This may seem like a far-fetched scenario, but it really is how modern philosophy is taught at the college level. Generally speaking, philosophy courses do not really educate students in philosophy per se. Instead, most treatments on the subject are far better described as a history of philosophy, or perhaps a survey. Sure, it might be interesting information to some, but it is not exactly the condensed summary of modern consensus that tends to define other fields.
Right.
Now, to be fair, this is not necessarily a bad thing. If a history of philosophy is really what interests you, well then by all means, go ahead and study it.
That was a big thing, is that it was like that very much in psychology and going into psychiatry, but there's a point when you start getting into applied sciences in both of those fields. And that's why the forensics really interested me. The forensics of that was kind of like, because now we're actually getting into the actual like forensic sciences.
Potatoes,
exactly, the meat and potatoes of where I wanted to go to. But there's an ocean of, I would all, like standing here now, over 20 years later, there's an ocean, or almost 20 years later, there's an ocean of crap that I think, honestly, is useless. I don't even, whenever I'm even thinking about this stuff, I don't even refer back to it. So
there may even be real tangible value in this.
I was going to say that's anything, right? So you go through all this shit, and even being a literature and English major myself, graduating with, a degree in English with a concentration in writing, there's a lot of shit that you just don't,
right.
Stuff. And so there's nothing intrinsically wrong with exploring it for its own sake. But can we please just take a moment to recognize what's really going on here? A formal education in philosophy will not actually qualify you as an authority in correct philosophical thought. At best, you will only emerge as a glorified historian and taxonomist. Much of this is intentional, too. There's an outspoken tradition in Western education that says it is always more important to teach students how to think rather than what to think. College philosophy, it seems, is just taking this doctrine to a fanatical extreme. The questions themselves are often considered more interesting than the actual answers, and the very act of thinking through arguments is widely regarded as a valuable end unto itself. Professors and textbooks alike will therefore spend plenty of effort on the comparative analysis of ideas, but rarely on the establishment of which ones are official orthodoxy.
So, thoughts so far before we get into this next segment?
It sounds like the only reason why someone wants to have a PhD in philosophy is so they can get paid to write books about the shit they think about.
It's angling down that road. And this is interesting because I remember when Darth Dawkins, who is big in metaphysics is his thing, philosophy is his thing, going on that, hey, Mr. Andrat, I see you lurking. I'm proud to have you lurking in my bushes. So the thing about Dawkins, the thing about Darth Dawkins is that this is where he sits. This is his field of forte. But when he debated Dr. Lawrence Krauss said this is just intellectual masturbation.
Yeah, you mean let's not call that a debate. That was not a debate.
Oh yeah.
That was Darth Dawkins running up and just shouting shit.
When he interrogated Krauss, and Krauss recognized it for what it was, and he just called it, this is just intellectual masturbation. I was like, this is kind of, it was like, wow, okay, so I can, Krauss made that, you kind of take it as it might be hyperbolic. It was like that, but I'm starting to think that Krauss nailed it. So we'll see what the audience thinks after we get through this, because this is where it gets interesting.
Take, for example, the classic writings of ancient Stoicism, a popular outlook on life that emphasizes self-control and mental fortitude as a path to happiness. Every undergraduate student of philosophy will eventually read about this stuff at some point, as well as the views of their contemporary rivals. If, however, you were to ask your professor whether or not Stoicism actually works, well, then you will almost certainly get a non-committal answer. To illustrate, should I adopt Stoicism for myself? Will Stoicism improve my life or make me more successful? Can Stoicism help me cope with trauma or overcome my bad habits? Are there any comparative studies evaluating this stuff empirically? Who the hell knows? Academic philosophy doesn't care about picking sides or quantifying efficacy. It only seeks to examine how other people have historically viewed the world. Success in the modern philosophical context often has very little to do with ideas being practical or insightful. Rather, success is generally measured by the degree of influence they possess. It is therefore not even a question of whether Stoicism happens to be right or wrong. We study it because it was a hugely popular force that influenced multiple centuries of development in ancient Western culture. Again,
but as we understand, and as an argument, this is almost an argumentum ad populum, that just because it's popular doesn't make it right.
The thing that this is what I've always looked at when it comes to philosophical debates. And one of the reasons why I generally tend to stay away from philosophical debates, because it's always a flex about who can recite more, Lockean philosophy or empiricism or
Aristotelian
or whatever. Yeah. Who knows more, who can regurgitate, the philosophy books the best.
Like a historian or taxonomer,
right? Exactly.
You are essentially you are a curator of knowledge. Is all you are,
right? Because if you were to ask, if you were to ask Descartes, right? Mm-hmm. If he was a philosopher, he would say, "No, I'm a thinker." If you same thing with Kant, same thing with Marx, same thing with all of these guys, they wouldn't consider themselves philosophers. Oh, I'm a philosopher. No, you're not. I just think about shit. I mean, think about Socrates, or Socrates, as some people like to call him. What did he do?
Hey, Socrates.
Socrates, yeah. What did Socrates do? Oh, man, I used to get so many people pissed off when I would call him Socrates. It's Socrates. Yes, I know, you dumb shit. But anyway, what did he do?
He thought about a lot of shit.
If we were to run into Socrates today, we would think he was batshit crazy.
Yeah. There's
his wife. One of the funniest stories I remember reading about Socrates is that his wife, to try and stop him from doing what he did, hid all of his clothes. Yeah. So what did Socrates do? He went out naked.
Yeah.
So imagine you're walking down the street. There's a guy standing on a rock, dick swinging in the wind, spouting some philosophical bullshit. Are you going to stop and be like, hey, yeah, that's pretty smart?
No, that's when the law comes along and says, all right, tell it to the judge.
Yeah, all right, there, Socrates.
Robert Caslow, wasn't Socrates banned from Twitter?
No, but the point is, I mean, that's one of the reasons I don't get involved in philosophical debates, especially with Dawkins or anybody else, because I don't give two shits about what you think metaphysics says or what you think an author of a metaphysics book says. I don't care. Right. I don't care what you can regurgitate. What do you think? And why do you think it? Do you think it because of your experience? And I'm not talking about things that are demonstrably provable. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about whether or not if I drop a pencil, it goes down. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the reasons why you haven't hold beliefs. And if you because Epicurus says this, that, fuck off.
No.
Fuck off.
Oh, yes. And the George says, yes, there's a reason he was called the Mad Gadfly. And Maximal reminds me of Diogenes a bit. Not going to lie. Good point. All right, back to it.
Again, there is nothing intrinsically wrong with this sort of methodology, provided that we honestly acknowledge it for what it is. In principle, you could be the world's greatest thinker who decisively settles all the big questions for all time, and every philosophy undergraduate would still be required to slog through a gigantic mountain of inferior content before ever touching your ideas. Likewise, you could write a 4,000-page ejaculation of incoherent word salad, and all you would have to do is impress the right people in order to have your ideas taught.
I was going to say, I love that it's Aquinas who's up in there. It's Thomas Aquinas who wrote this shit, and everyone's like, yay! And you got like fucking Platinga in there, and I love it.
Alongside more sensible content. All of this would be perfectly tolerable, or even admirable, if not for one thing. Philosophers in both professional and amateur circles alike seem to be endowed with an overly optimistic sense of self-importance.
Where do we recognize that from?
No idea who we ever could be.
Who could that be?
Could that be?
University departments from across the world brag openly about how philosophy teaches students such important skills as critical thinking, logical analysis, and complex problem solving. They take pride in their supposedly dispassionate use of pure reason to create and evaluate arguments, all for the sake of developing a clear and systematic view of who we are, where we stand, and where we should be going. It all sounds wonderful in principle, but it's also a complete fiction.
Oh, before you do that, hey, Red Ink, good to see you. Red Ink has popped up in the chat. I'm pretty sure your shirt should have arrived to you pretty soon. Let me know. It says, ready to show this to Canadian Catholic. LOL. Very true.
Robert Caswell says, Darth Dawkins is a modest soul. Hang on a second. My nose is getting bigger. No, the unlived life is not worth examining. Anonymous. That's why I don't like philosophy. Who gives a fuck? That sounds like some basic white bitch shit right there. Live, laugh, love. I say that quietly because my wife put that on our wall.
Have you seen that Geico commercial where Which the guy's teaching people how to be a part of the modern age? They're holding on to like old stuff, and it was like, do we need a sign that says live, love, laugh? And everyone's like, yeah. He's like, no, we don't. And he just throws it away.
JC Knott says, what is this philosophy you speak of?
Is it ultimate, foundational, the ground of all being and a mind? I don't know, but I bet you can find someone who put out a 4,000-page ejaculation about how it is.
Yep.
To demonstrate, imagine a professional community of thousands of dedicated intellectuals who are all highly trained experts in the art of truth-finding. Now imagine these same intellectuals all share a common goal of exploring difficult questions, collecting evidence, evaluating arguments, and deriving the most sensible conclusions possible. Naturally, we should expect such a group to eventually reach a unanimous consensus on every question posed, given that they all share the same methods, the same goals, the same evidence, and the same arguments.
Yes. This is because this is essentially the scientific method that he's talking about here. If we're all moving towards using the same methodology, then we should arrive to that conclusion, which is how we refine our predictive models. This is one of the same issues that we've got with the Bible in and of itself, with any religious holy text. that you can derive different meanings from these things from the same source, which means there's either a problem with the source, there's a problem with the methodology, or there's a problem with the individuals. And because the individuals are the ones coming to the conclusion from it, we can rule them out. So there's either a problem, but then we find out, we ask them, they're using the same methodologies, but they're still coming to different conclusions, which means the problem is the source.
Right. So that's the thing, that the only thing that really comes out of philosophy that is worth anything tangible outside of, thinking about things and having deep discussions while, drinking beer and throwing darts is logic. Right. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, as long as you get to a true truth value, 1 + 1 is 2, right? Nothing else really, all the other bullshit, you can base all of your evidence on logic and whether it fits a logical model or not, whether it fits real truth value. And somebody's saying, well, God exists because God revealed it to me. No, that's not, that's false. That's false. It doesn't logically follow.
Yeah. Maximal says, Canadian Catholic did see this video, and he commented that Anti-Citizen X might have as well said, I have no idea what I'm talking about. That's a throwaway. I mean,
that's just incredulity.
Yeah, that's just incredulity. Yeah, it's just literally. So, but that's Canadian Catholic. That's par for the course. Turing test.
Just in case our good buddy Otangelo or Darth Dawkins here's what I'm saying, I want to tell you why God exists because God revealed it to me is false. Because if you take away God from that, now you have nothing.
Right.
It's called a circular argument, people.
Turing Test 2 says Immanuel Kant was a real pissant who was very rarely stable. Heidegger was a boozy beggar who could think you under the table. David Hume could outconsume Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. And Wittgenstein was a beery swine who was just as schlossed as Schlegel. There's nothing Nietzsche couldn't teach you about the raising of the wrist. Socrates himself was permanently pissed.
I mean, I can't argue with that.
I can't do it. Robert Caslow says, I would rather watch a pastor speak in tongues. Very good point.
Have you seen that video where they take the pastor speaking in tongues? I forget which one it was, but they replace it with the Cornholio speech.
Oh no, I haven't.
I gotta find it.
I am Cornholio.
Yeah.
Redding says Darth begging the question, then being Mr. Malignant Binary Nut.
Yes, that's the problem. God exists because God exists. No, it doesn't work that way.
Redding says, Otangelo, when I was young, life was wonderful, a miracle, shroud of tyrannical, illiberal. JC Knott says, my problem with the Bible is you can't amend it. Everything else, even science or a country's law, you can amend. But I'm supposed to expect a 2,000-year-old book to be perfect in its ultimate form. Yeah, good point.
Well, the thing is, it's not even 2,000 years old.
Right.
Because it wasn't put together till 325 BC? Or I'm sorry, 325.
And it took time.
Common Era,
yeah, it took time. So
yeah,
right.
You mean to tell me that a book put together, written by guys who died 300 years previous to the book being put together, is 100%, and not only written, but written by word of mouth, passed down stories. Let me tell you something. You ever play a telephone game?
Well, would you say this? The fish gets progressively larger.
Yes. I was gonna say telephone game. Do that shit, except do it over the course of 325 years.
Oh yeah, and Annie's right. Good old King James. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, many hangman. He says, I will do my best to answer questions in DMs. But yeah, I will get to them. Absolutely. I always try to get to them as soon as I can, as soon as my schedule allows. So
are they good questions?
Do you have some gospel for my bungle?
Are they good questions, JL?
They are actually good. Yeah, Many Hangman does have asking me, if he's looking for resources where he can look to find information or whatever. Yeah, just kind of tap in my reservoir.
Facebook.
Goals, the same evidence and the same arguments. If anything, the very existence of any disagreement whatsoever would only prove that certain members of that community are either not following the correct guidelines, not sharing the same evidence, or not being sincere in their supposed quest for truth. Bingo. The more disagreement there is, in fact, the more evident it would be that such a group is neglecting to enforce consistent standards of honest inquiry.
Multiple denominations.
Sorry. I'm sorry. What was that? Did you say you need issue or?
Now imagine that very same group utterly failing to converge on a single point of agreeable fact, and you would finally have something that closely resembles modern philosophy.
Have a good one, John Fabiano. All my best. Have fun, and I will catch you on the next one, bud. Rubber Caslow, if you smack that ass in a vacuum tube, do you solve calculus?
In a famous study by Bourget and Chalmers, hundreds of PhD-level philosophers from around the world were surveyed on a variety of foundational topics. You would think that if philosophers really are the great experts in reason that they claim to be, then we should expect an overwhelming consensus on the major questions of their field.
Yep.
The results, however, were the exact opposite. Not a single question could garner any consensus above 90%, and only one question was able to break above 80%. We're not even talking about weird esoteric issues either, but fundamentally basic questions to all of philosophy itself. For example, what is truth? What is knowledge? What is logic? Do we have free will?
These go by
overwhelming
pretty quick,
consensus on the major
just so people can get a chance to actually see
for any consensus above 90%, and only one question was able to break above 80%. We're not even talking about weird esoteric issues either, but fundamentally basic questions to all of philosophy.
That's an interesting one right there. God, theism, or atheism. Atheism, 72.8 plus or minus 1.7%. Accept, 61.9% lean towards, 11%. Theism, accept, lean towards. I mean, and then agnostic, undecided. But then you go into contextualism, invariantism. It's wild. It's all over the place.
Self. For example,
so here we go.
What is truth?
So correspondence, truth, deflationary, epistemic, other. You know, what they agree with. And then, of course,
truth. What is not?
Empiricism, rationalism, other.
Knowledge. What is logic?
Classical, classical, non-classical, other.
Do we have free will?
That one actually doesn't surprise me because the vast majority agree with compatibilism. And then, but you know, I actually have never met like a legit libertarian person who really accepts libertarian free will. So I haven't run into one. Then some people, yeah, those are your determinists, those hard determinists, and then others who fall somewhere else. But that's what I'm surprised. Determinism is actually lower than libertarianism because I don't think that there's really even an argument for libertarian free will. I just don't think there is. But
is there such a thing as good and evil? It cannot be overstated that in most any other professional
watch Hawking
field of study, this would be an absolute embarrassment.
No facepalm because I'm sorry.
That's pretty fucked up.
I'm sorry. It was the one thing I noticed. I was kind of like, oh, everybody facepalm. Oh, except Hawking.
Oh, except Hawking. Because he can't.
Because he can't. I felt bad. I was like, I'm a terrible.
You know what I would have done? I would have made it his nurse.
Oh yeah, like his assistant to help out. Yes,
because she used to beat him.
And then Lucy.
Come on,
I'm not going to go that direction.
You know she did.
Let's see. Reddick says nobody is doing the tone locomotion. Come on, Darth D, do the tone locomotion. You're too busy being a bastard to notice. That is why Reddick got himself a free shirt. Oh, let me see. Pinker, Sapolsky, Danny, others.
Maxwell does it better. Says it better.
Hawking screen should have showed the facepalm. Oh, yeah, she showed the facepalm emoji. That would have been good. Clive Wells, what are you doing? Because every time Clive Wells shows up and he does the Otangelo summoning pit, Otangelo shows up. I think it's because he's a PhD in theoretical
physics. Clive Wells wants me to appear on the stream so we can have another debate about whether or not I support Dr. Dawkins and him putting his philosophical pee in my butt.
Oh, Caslow. Does Hawkins have a leg to stand?
Oh, that's fucked up.
That's fucked up. All right, back to the video.
Yet, when it comes to academic philosophy, this is apparently just par for the course. For the last 100 years, the philosophical community has been researching, questioning, arguing, debating, evaluating, and educating, but they still cannot even fully commit to the existence of an objective reality beyond our sense perception. Even more embarrassing for the philosophical community is how many of the traditionally deep philosophical questions have already been long solved by professionals in other fields. Take, for example, the nature of morality and ethical behavior. Biologists and economists collectively solved this problem decades ago in that they both arrived at the same basic description via independent lines of investigation.
Yes, that second book he popped up here, The Evolution of Cooperation, and there you go, evolutionary game theory. This is this is the field that I often cite, that I had to dive into to really get a grasp on where these things come from and how our subjective moral frameworks and the laws and the rules that we decided, how those initially came from the very basic learned behavior that cooperative action yields better results and better survivability outcomes. Better, the matrix for those outcomes are far superior than selfish action amongst the group, because it may lead to positive outcomes in the short term. In the long term, it erodes away from the survivability matrix. So, I've been trying to talk about this, and I cannot tell you how many times I have brought up evolutionary game theory, and people who are like hardcore theists will just that's just bullshit to get God out of the equation and blah blah blah. They're just making that shit up, and there's
why?
I don't know. It's like,
No. That's the question I asked. Those are the questions that I ask the people making those statements. Well, that's just a way. That's just atheists trying to get God out of the equation. Okay,
right.
Well, but why is it that way? And here, this is the thing that kills me about, and this is where faith. This is why that I say that people who are of faith need to exist outside of logic, simply because there's no logical argument that makes any kind of rational sense as to why God exists. Now, that doesn't mean that I think that people shouldn't believe in a God. If you want to believe in God, believe in God. If you don't. But whenever you look at logic, the real law of excluded middle and the real dichotomy, not, if it's either A or not A, right?
Right.
That's it. A true dichotomy, not the bullshit that Dawkins puts out.
Yeah.
But whenever you sit there and say, "Well, no, it's just atheists saying that no God," well, isn't that the intellectually honest place to start? If God is in question, if that's the question of the philosophical debate, right?
Sorry, I saw a comment. I'll get to it in a second.
Okay.
You saw it too, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, it's so sour. It was a naked gun.
Yep.
Oh God.
It's got chunks in it, and he smells and fucking passes out. Anyway, but so if the idea is that we need to talk about, right, if we're going to debate, to have a philosophical discussion on whether or not there is or is not God, well, the intellectually honest place to start has to be there is no God, right? Because you have to start with a completely empty cup before you start putting shit in there trying to figure out what it is.
Very, very Confucius of you. A bowl is most useful when it is empty.
Well, it's true, right? Think about it. True. If you have a pail that's full of sand and you want to go get water, how's that going to work out for you?
Right. Okay, let's see here real quick before we jump onto this. PhD Tony is in the house. Good to see you, says Richard Dawkins. Discussed this in detail. Yes, he did. Good to see you. And I see, so yes, God equals the square root of -1. Says, yes, religion has aged like a fine milk.
Where's that video? Where's that video?
Which one?
The one that I sent you.
Oh. Robert Caslow says, didn't the guy from A Beautiful Mind win a Nobel on this topic? I could have sworn that Nash won a Nobel in mathematics.
It was it
some field of mathematics?
His first paper, the first paper he did at Princeton, the one that got him his placement.
And it was like years later when they went back and looked at it.
Many years later, but he was talking about what was it? Was instead who did he challenge? He challenged an economist. Oh Jesus Christ, I can't remember. Anyway, so basically he said that
the best outcomes don't come when every man for himself. No, that's bullshit. So if you do what's best for you and everyone for the group, that's when you get the best outcome.
That's when you get the okay, yeah. It was economics, but yeah, I mean, essentially it runs the exact same matrix as evolutionary game theory, that cooperative action for the yields the best results in the long term, which is actually this is the biggest problem that we. Economic. Okay, thank you, PhD Tony. I've never won a Nobel, and I don't know, but what was it? But yeah, this is what we see in today's the economy, or the economics of today, is that we are seeing the results of short-term selfish action and the effects it has on the group when we have people hoarding the wealth that they have. Because when you hoard so much wealth in a system in order to maintain the balance of economics and not see, inflation go through the absolute roof, and then, in order to stabilize your economy, there's only so much money you can have in the system. But when 10% of the population gobbles up and hoards the vast majority of that wealth, there's not enough for everybody else to go around. That's why you get these giant disparities between the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class. Eventually, you see the middle class begin to dissolve to where there's just an upper class and a lower class. That's it. And we see the results of this today. In 1% of the world's population holds like some 70% of the world's wealth. So, all right. So
hey, PhD Tony, good to see you too. I hope you're feeling better.
I do hope you're feeling better as well, sir. All right, Clive Wells' ghost.
Self-interest, when coupled with social interdependence and scarcity, naturally gives rise to cooperative pro-social behaviors.
Bam!
This is not a matter of any serious debate either, but a well-established field, complete with its own mathematical formalism, laboratory experiment, and real-world applications. Yet, to this very day, we still find philosophers who obsess endlessly about whether or not pulling the lever is murder. This is exactly why academic philosophy has a less than stellar reputation among professional scientists, engineers, and the public at large. One of the most famous examples of this frustration was even voiced by Professor Stephen Hawking himself when he publicly declared that philosophy is dead. Mind you, he wasn't saying that philosophy is a completely pointless thing to study. Rather, he was complaining about the inability of philosophers to make progress and keep up with the times. Cosmologists are out there making amazing discoveries every day about the fundamental nature of space, time, and even causality itself. Yet philosophers are still debating such banal questions as, what is the nature of being? They're not solving any new problem.
Why did this sound so much like Mr. Batman? What is the nature of being and how do you know it?
This guy is basically speaking the things that I've said all this shit. We've all talked about this shit.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to philosophical
ad nauseum.
Right. Like, oh, what's philosophy? Nobody can fuck off. Nobody cares. I'm sorry. I know some people that they do this for like this is their passion, and that's cool. It's stupid. I'm sorry. It's stupid. Yeah. Okay. If you're a philosopher, to go fucking work at Starbucks.
They're just rehashing the same meaningless rhetoric for decade after decade. Countless philosophers have shrieked at the idea that their beloved profession might be dead, but the sheer childishness of their rebuttals only proves the point further. Yeah. They'll say such vapid things as, well, science is philosophical, or that Hawking himself holds to questionable philosophical views.
Okay, because you've heard these arguments too, right?
Yes.
Yes, it was like, well, yeah, but science itself is a philosophy. The philosophy of science, you're in this. It's all that attempt to draw empiricists into the same boat that they're in.
Yeah, no, we don't want to be in that boat.
Right, and the whole point is the methodology we use is to ensure we are not in that boat.
Well,
we don't want to because we can't get any progress in that boat.
Right. Look, I'm gonna like empiricism.
It's a boat with no oars.
It's a boat with no fucking boat.
It's no boat.
Okay, the boat is gone. The boat, like the boat that you used to be in, was cool, right? Up until a point when the boat just started to fall apart, and all the thinking and shit they were doing just wasn't working. And it wasn't until the empiricists said, "Well, hey, how about we take some driftwood and fix the boat?" You're like, nah, we could think the boat back to normal. Like, no, you can. You actually have to fucking fix the boat.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or that the claim itself is just ill-informed, incoherent, and irresponsible. It's like a giant stream of insults, strawmen, and red herrings that make no effort to understand, let alone address, the underlying problem. Philosophy, as a professional academic institution, does not make progress.
Bingo.
It solves no problems, and it makes no discoveries. Even the very word itself.
So what he says there, when he says it solves no problems and makes no discoveries, the simple fact that Descartes' "I think, therefore I am" is still a huge discussion.
Yeah.
The fact that if a tree falls in the woods, does it still make sound? That's a philosophical discussion. One that science has answered. Yes, it does.
Yes, it still does. Yeah. Just because there's no eardrums to pick it up doesn't mean sound waves just suddenly cease to exist.
Just cease to exist, right? And look, they're going to be about this. Well, but you're not engaging in the thought experiment of the problem. Like, fuck you. Who gives a shit?
Off.
It's the stupidest thing to say to me, because I don't know. You're right. I'm not engaging in a thought experiment because it's a stupid fucking thought experiment.
Or we take the Krause deal. I'm not interested in this intellectual masturbation. I'm really not. Let me see. I'm going to ask, let's see. Maximal says, I'm going to ask rhetorically, what other philosophy got further in knowledge than science? Bingo. And Omni Oros Boros, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. It says, caulk the wagon to ford the river.
You know? I mean...
Boomer, if he's asking who is this guy, the guy that we are currently listening to is Anti-Citizen X. And he came up with this video about a week ago, and it was really interesting to me, and I wanted to kind of show it and get some other opinions on it as well. So, Clive Wells says,
okay, I will give. Clive. That's the thing I was going to talk about. I will give Clive Wells that. It does clarify the question, and that's pretty cool. That's one thing that philosophy can do, is make sure we understand what the question is. But as far as answering that question, it leaves a little bit to be desired.
I've always thought of it as it's two parts of the same coin. Is that metaphysics? Okay, or you want to talk about like philosophy, like metaphysics. What I hear the most about is what guides us,
right?
But it's our epistemology that grounds us. And if you just hang out in one with epistemology, you're essentially your nose is on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And with metaphysics and no epistemology, you're just flying around through the clouds. So you've got to have both. You've got to have the imagination to ask questions, but then you've got to have the grounding, so that the questions so that the answers that you come up with are legitimately, they're backed by facts and evidence. That way, you're not just believing whatever you want to believe.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. If you want to believe in a spaghetti monster, if you want to believe in a fucking, I don't know, a gay magical rainbow riding dolphin, I don't give two shits.
Tell me where the noodly appendage touched you.
Believe whatever you want to believe. Just don't force your shit upon other people based on your philosophical mumbo jumbo, your nonsense. Don't tell me that I have to do this because your idea of what God is says so. That's good. That works for you. Cool. It doesn't work for me. Leave me the fuck out of your bullshit.
And PC Tony says, he agrees, says it can do that, but it often disappears up its own navel. Yes. It is a lot of navel gazing. Absolutely. Boomer says he's the guy who made the omnipotence problem vid. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's correct. And yes, it can devolve into semantics to the absolute extreme. But there's a thing to be said for the etymology of words, and that is one issue that I have, is that when people when the words that they choose get them into logical problems, then they want to hold on to that word because that's the word that's been used for forever. So like for hundreds of years, the church, Catholic or Protestant or whatever, has said that God is omniscient. The problem that is derived from all-knowing from the Bible, and then the etymology of that, if you want to break it down to its Latin, is omniscient, all-knowing. But then they realize that state of being gets you into real serious logical problems. How can an omniscient being change its mind? How can an omniscient being do something different than it planned? because it already knows. So everything it does, it already knew. So therefore, it's essentially just running on a track, which means there was no new covenant, because that means God was aware that there would be a new covenant. He's already aware of it in advance. And that means he could have just instantiated the new covenant without having to go through all the trouble of having to get up to the new covenant.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely brings in the problem of if God is omniscient, the traditional Western concepts, right? The omni God.
Right.
If God is all those things, then why the fuck are we here?
That's the then they realize these terms get us into trouble, because for the longest time, people didn't think of this, in this context, or maybe they did, I don't know, but for the longest time they said God is omniscient, God is all knowing. Then all of a sudden we start saying, no, omniscience gets you into a lot of logical problems,
a lot of trouble. Well, not even just logical. I mean, it gets you into a lot of issues. Period.
Yes, especially when it starts refuting things in the Bible in other places.
Don't you mean,
why this? Why this? This doesn't comport.
Right.
This is actually a violation of the nature of an omniscient being. And then they go, oh, well, it was open into interpretation, and it's this kind. It's not really omniscient, they start hedging their bets.
Yep.
And they start wanting to, in the worst cases, they want to change the definition of omniscience.
Yep.
Instead of simply finding another term.
Finding a better term that fits.
But the problem is, once you start doing that, where do you stop? Once you open the door to altering the definition of God to make it fit, where does that stop? Where does that road end?
Right. One thing I wanted to address with, like, whenever you bring this type of thing up to a Darth Dawkins, and instead of answering the question, right, let me ask you this: if God is all knowing,
right,
all good, all present, whatever, the omni God, why would he create two people, put them in an orchid, a field, a forest, with a tree, with fruit that you're not supposed to eat, and then act shocked when one of them eats that?
When they ate it, when they have no concept of sin or evil or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
When they're told, hey, don't eat from the fruit of knowledge, but don't you know that this is going to happen? And if you did know this was going to happen, and you knew it was going to cause pain and strife to those who ate from the knowledge of fruit, then how is it all good? And instead of answering that question, what Darth likes to do, what grounds do you have to judge God?
Right. Because he's the most powerful, and if he wants to break his toys, then he can break his toys.
Exactly. It's like, no. That isn't shifting the burden of whatever. That doesn't work. How can you answer that question? Well, you can't possibly know good. Okay, let's back this up a little bit. Family's out playing on the street, right? Mm-hmm. You got Pops, he's out on the grill, traditional grilling with family and dinner, and little girl and little boy are playing in the field, and mom is, having fun with the kids, and dad is making the steaks and whatever, and they're about to sit down and have a nice little picnic in front of their house. All of a sudden, there's a drive-by, and they shoot the little girl. How's that good? Where's the good in that?
There is no, that is what I would actually lump that into the field of unnecessary suffering.
Right.
Whatever lesson that could be taught with that event could have been taught in a way that, and God would know, being omniscient, would know how to teach that lesson without the death of a little girl.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's where the end of that line of questioning gets to. Why is that necessary for an all good, all knowing, all present, and all powerful being? Why is that necessary for those parents and that sibling to deal with the sudden and tragic loss of their family member?
Right.
Why is that necessary? What does that do? What does that prove? That God can be a bastard too?
And then you got questions over here. JF says, why does God get angry if he's omniscient? Is a great example. Or how about, why is God jealous? Direct quote from Exodus. And it was like, yeah, exactly. It was like, well, wait a minute. How is an infallibly all-knowing entity that knows infallibly it is the only thing that exists, or the only God exists, or the most powerful of all gods? What would he get jealous of?
Let me blow your mind really quick. The Bible does not say that there is only one God.
This is true. says
the Bible wholeheartedly acknowledges many gods.
That there hold no other gods before me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he's a jealous God. What is he jealous of? Other gods.
Yeah. And then, boomer, God regretted making Saul king. At one point, God regretted making man. Apparently, he wasn't aware of we can go down this of the goofiness of the implications of omniscience and how the Bible itself refutes it. So, let's jump back to this.
Yep.
Philosophy is a terribly ill-defined concept. To demonstrate, just ask yourself right now, what is philosophy? That is to say, when I go out and take a bunch of philosophy courses from the philosophy department to earn my philosophy degree, what exactly am I studying? What knowledge or skills must I acquire in order to officially qualify as an expert in the field? What separates the study of philosophy from, say, the study of physics or art? How do we differentiate between a philosophical problem and a scientific one? How do we measure the difference between good philosophy and bad philosophy? You would think that academic philosophers might be able to agree on this stuff at least, but even this is a hotly debated issue. For instance, consider the classic platitude that philosophy is simply the love of wisdom. By that definition, who isn't a philosopher? Who among us honestly hates wisdom and has no interest in understanding the world?
Darth Dawkins. That's who. Question answered.
At least one university department attempts to clarify this doctrine by telling us that philosophy is an activity people undertake when they seek to understand fundamental truths about themselves, the world in which they live, and their relationships to the world and to each other. Okay, so if I go out and get a PhD in philosophy, does that really make me an expert in the fundamental truths about myself, the world, and our relationships? If so, then why exactly does the community have such a hard time agreeing on what those truths are? Why are they so terrible at rooting out the many falsehoods within their literature and just telling us the facts? In practice, a far more appropriate definition for a philosopher is someone who merely studies philosophy. Philosophy, then, is defined by the agreed-upon curriculum that all students are required to learn for their philosophy majors. It's a perfectly valid definition, and at least some university departments do seem to implicitly assume as much on their very own websites. But let's just be honest with ourselves about what this entails. Philosophy, for all practical purposes, is nothing more than a collection of arbitrarily assigned coursework defined by the undergraduate committee of your particular institution. In practice, that usually amounts to a massive survey of thought from culturally influential figures throughout history. So the next time I need help contrasting the epistemological views of Immanuel Kant versus David Hume, well then I'll be sure to consult a philosopher. But when it comes to determining which views are more valid, functional, or practical, then I'm afraid even the professional philosophers are just as unqualified as the rest of us. Again, all of this would be perfectly fine and dandy if not for the arrogant pretense that modern academic philosophers are the great lords of all human wisdom. They would like you to think that they're all out there probing the deepest mysteries of life, the universe, and everything, but that image is nothing but a pretentious fiction. Every month, this community publishes huge volumes of literature in prestigious academic journals, despite having no official consensus as to what a correct answer would actually look like.
Right. Yeah.
That's all it is. That's why I can't get down with philosophy.
And I think it does serve some. There is a utility to philosophy.
Well, like Clive talked about, it helps define the question.
But you cannot hang your hat on it. You cannot just be like, "This is where it's at."
No, it's a good place to start, right? Having those questions with meaning of life. That's a good question. What is the meaning of life? Well, the meaning of life for me isn't going to be the same for you. Isn't going to be the same for somebody else, right? Because what I find to be fulfilling is not going to be the same thing as what you find to be fulfilling.
42.
Well, what if I want to be 43?
Sorry, it's 42. 10 million years of thought went into this. 42.
Well, 10 million years of thought.
Commander Darklight agrees. 42.
Even if they ever found one. This is not a good thing. Hucksters, snake oil salesmen, and the outright incompetent are the only people who can possibly benefit from this kind of ambiguity. When a professional field lacks any clear criteria over what constitutes sensible work,
If you look at this fucking guy with this haircut and think this is somebody I need to follow,
the preeminent, oh,
like
just
Aquinas, dude. Why would you have your Hitler stash is in the wrong spot, brother?
Oh, look at this. It says St. Thomas Aquinas, whether the angels exercise functions of life in the bodies assumed. What does that even solve?
That's my point. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put a bunch of words together that sound and make me look intelligent.
Right.
Because people won't understand them, and I'll just say them like I understand them, and everybody else is going to assume that I understand those words. But because they don't understand those words, they're going to believe me to be intellectually superior.
It's just goofy. I mean, consequently, vital functions can be performed in assumed bodies by the angels. Assumed bodies by the angels as to that which is common in such operations, but not as to that which is special to living subjects, because according to the philosopher, that which has the faculty has the action. Hence, nothing can have a function of life except what has life, which is the potential principle of such action.
What a bunch of gobbledygook. I had to do it.
It's so fucking just look at how smart I am.
Yes. This is like shit you would like a supervillain, right? This is shit supervillains say. I'm smart and you're not. Yeah.
Then the inevitable result is going to be a lot of worthless nonsense. So even if philosophy were to occasionally offer some worthwhile nuggets of truth, it is almost impossible to find any of that truth without first digging through a gigantic mountain of useless rhetorical bullshit. Case in point, consider the famous philosopher.
I love this because I think Darth has brought up Plantinga a couple of times. Now, I don't know what his position is on him now because obviously I don't really interact with him that much or pretty much at all anymore since he blocked me. But I love this what he points out about Plantinga here.
Alvin Plantinga, who is widely regarded as one of the greatest living philosophers of religion today. Yet if you actually bother to read any of his writings, they're practically overflowing with some of the most asinine gibberish you'll ever encounter.
Look,
the guy honestly wrote a 90-page...
I will say one thing about this Plantinga guy. He is brilliant. He has figured out a way to do absolutely nothing and make a living off of it.
And make a living. Words on paper.
I'll just throw words on paper and I'm smart and pay me $20 a book for it. Fuck,
Page essay in defense of the proposition that it is entirely right, rational, reasonable, and proper to believe in God without any evidence or argument at all. Not just any God, mind you, but specifically the Christian God of the Holy Bible. He even goes on to claim in his other writings that if you don't share his assessment about God's obviousness, well then sin must be corrupting your brain and literally making you stupid. As if all those Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, atheists, pagans, and Jews across the entire world could only believe what they do out of idolatry, pride, and masturbation.
Oh my God.
So you hear where Darth pulls from that, or the kind of like pulls their argumentation.
Yep.
On that, where it's kind of like then you are because it goes with the Bible. That they are suppressing the truth in their unrighteousness, that they are holding to their bodily autonomy is kind of where fucking Bonson and Van Til get their crap, and that's what where we value that but all of this makes the assumption that God exists and God is an absolute fact when in fact and it's very important to note out that it is not an absolute fact that this thing exists. So
yes, that's okay. So that's the reason why that we made the.
Ooh, Marcus Dresden. Hey, I've totally spaced. I saw you pop in. Good. I wanted to say hi. Good.
Hey,
Marcus
go ahead. Dresden. This is where you and I kind of made our little. I don't know if I would call it a gaffe or mistake, but when we talked about William Lane Craig being a presuppositionalist, because the whole position of Christian belief, Christian philosophy presupposes that there's a God.
Yeah.
It has to, because if you start out tabula rasa, blank slate, it's very difficult to get to God without presupposing that he exists.
Right. Oh, yes, Charlie Welch, you are correct. Preacher is a fucking good show, super out there. I love it. I loved all of this. Every episode was fantastic. I loved the comic book, the Garth Ennis series that it was based on. I love how they hit all the pertinent stuff that was in it. But my absolute favorite, my favorite moment was when God and Jesse have their final confrontation towards the end, and God is like, "I am the all-powerful God," and like this, Jesse punches God in the face and knocks him down. God brings it like this. Then he knocks Jesse down. Or no, he's like, I'm the all-powerful God. I will destroy, but like this, like that. And then Jesse leans over and is like, still won't make me love you. Yep. It's still not going to love you. It's just not the way it's going to work.
Yeah. So again, let's assume that God exists for a minute, right? Let's agree that there is an all-powerful being. What would be a more effective way of being an all-powerful being? Being a dick to everybody, saying, if you don't believe in me the way that you're supposed to believe in me, if you don't love me, if you don't worship me, I'm going to cast you out into a pit of fire and brimstone. Or, hey guys, let's go hang out and drink some beers and play some pool and throw some darts and talk about some of the more philosophical things. Right. Which one do you want to fucking hang out with?
Yeah, exactly.
The jock?
And that's what's messed up, is it? Because God would know that let's just talk like this. If this being exists, then God would know from the beginning, before I even was created, before I even came up, that I don't respond to fear. I've never bent to fear.
Right. Exactly.
And that was the way my father raised me. He would know that my father would raise me this way, that I do not bend, that I tilt at fear. I don't yield at fear. And that this is the way my father raised me, and the way my mother raised me. And he would know this, and he would know that this tactic would not work on me. Absolutely. It's like that this tactic will not work. If I try to coerce this person through fear, he will not yield. He will come at me headlong.
Right.
Because that is a level, that is basically saying, I am more powerful than you. I am going to control you. I'm going to control your fate. I'm going to control your outcome. Right. And I'm like, you know what, motherfucker? I don't care who you are.
I double dared you. I double dog dare you, motherfucker.
If you already knew this outcome, if you already knew that we were going to be at the standpoint, then just throw me in now.
Right. Yeah. Let's just get it over with.
Let's just get it over with, because that's where
we're getting the energy. Yeah. Save the energy. Let's just get to the end point, because it's unstoppable force, immovable object. That's what's going to happen here. Exactly. I'm the same way. Like fear tactics don't work on me. You will do this or else. Oh, okay, cool. We're going to get to the or else. Right. We're getting there. We're going to put you, I am going to call that freaking bet every single time. If you don't do this, I'm going to shoot you in the face. Well, then shoot me in the face, motherfucker. Because I'm not fucking doing what you want me to do simply because you think you can scare me into doing what you want me to do.
Right. Yeah, there's just no point. All right. Oh, yeah, I think we had some new people. Did I see some new people jumping in? Oh, they're having a conversation about that. Yes, Omniaros Bros. Saw Good Omens. Love the book. Love the Gaiman work. Love the adaptation. Michael Sheen, David Tennant. Love the two of them. They're absolutely brilliant. I thought they were fantastic in those roles, especially David Tennant. He's just amazing. See. Oh, Redding says, "Oh, who are they talking about? They're talking about Otangelo."
No, we're not talking about Otangelo.
Because he wouldn't use the term, the common answer between humans and whatever modern brain animal use like is equally distant. Oh, yeah. It's very far. Okay, so they're talking about evolution in that respect.
Yeah.
So back to it, because we're almost done.
These are not just some idle scribblings either, but widely considered to be Plantinga's magnum opus. You would think that this sort of grossly bigoted incompetence would earn someone the disdain of an entire community of expert critical thinkers.
You pull the shit in science, you will be relegated to the trash heap.
Yeah.
But no. Instead, the guy has practically been showered with awards, fellowships, and honors. Bear in mind now that Professor Hawking and myself are far from the only people to notice these problems with philosophy, and many prominent figures have written extensively about it in recent years. So it's not really a question of if philosophy has a problem, but how best to explore that problem and bring the field back to some semblance of respectability. It's ironic, too, because the philosophers themselves are apparently the last people on Earth we can count on for that kind of resolution. Right. Philosophy, after all, is just a word, which means there is no objectively correct way to define it and protect
what
it.
I would like
Any
for
answer
people,
we get.
What I would like for people to understand about philosophy is that philosophy is not here to answer anything.
Right.
Period.
Oh, was that it? News.
I mean, do we need to say more?
Extrapolate
do
on
we
it?
really
No,
need
we
to
don't.
extrapolate any more than that?
We don't need to say any more. Doesn't need any further
doesn't need any
extrapolation.
more explanation. Philosophy is not here to answer questions.
Yeah.
Philosophy is here to ask questions. Period. Right? Philosophy. Here's a question, and then you have, I don't know, science come in and say, okay, cool, let's take this question and answer it. Science answers questions. Mathematics answers questions. Even literature answers questions better than philosophy.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. Redding, let's choose manta rays. The common ancestor of manta rays and humans was not a human and not a manta ray. Very true.
Is necessarily going to be arbitrary, and there are dozens of competing schools of thought over how best to define the subject. Let's not forget that countless members of the community also have a vested interest in maintaining this lack of standards, as it allows them to essentially get paid for doing nothing. Nevertheless, if philosophers ever want to be taken seriously as academic grown-ups, then sooner or later they're going to have to impose a few boundaries. Philosophy, it seems, is in dire need of its own philosophy. It's interesting when you utter this phrase out loud, because it actually
infinite regress of philosophy.
Yes.
It provides a subtle clue as to what the word philosophy tends to indicate in practice, namely, the rigorous articulation of what stuff means. It almost sounds trivial when you put it in those terms, but if you know anything at all about modern philosophy, then you know that this is a ubiquitous feature of the profession. Not just mere dictionary definitions, mind you, but a relentless drive towards conceptual clarity. To demonstrate, consider the so-called philosophy of science. In order to officially call yourself a scientist, then presumably you accept the fundamental goals of science and you agree to practice its methods. Science is not just a body of knowledge per se, nor is it a system of doctrines to be affirmed. Science is a process to be followed. A philosophy of science may thus be defined as any description of what science is, why science matters, how science operates, and how to identify those who fail to do science correctly. The philosophy doesn't even have to be set in stone either, in that anyone and everyone is more than welcome to offer their own particular spin on the basic principles. It is tempting to complain that all of this may only be a mere philosophy unto itself, but at least it's a consider.
I have seen the personification of this image in Discord.
That's only your philosophy, Buster.
Although you just replace Buster with some sort of attack. So,
really. Let's see here. What are the good ones? I'm trying to think of the good Darth Hawkins insults. Oh, that's only your philosophy, you 16-year-old.
You pot smoker.
You pot smoker.
Clive Wells. No, I think that
you hit the bong today.
The guy with the white beard is a philosopher, and that's the philosophy side. And I'm not sure if that's supposed to be Socrates, but he's been using that predominantly. But that's the philosopher side, and then the other side is the science side.
Distant philosophy that reasonably captures what people usually mean whenever they use the word. For example, the philosophy of education, philosophy of religion.
Logical Hillbilly, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming by. Another member of the Godless Army. Definitely. And someone said that Otangelo may have shown up in the chat, but I haven't seen anything.
No, he wasn't here.
Maybe he hasn't, so.
There was no Otangelo.
Logical Hillbilly. Is that like the people against intolerance that are intolerant of the intolerant?
Are we justified being intolerant of intolerant people?
Good question. Faith is the mind killer. Mind is the faith killer.
Philosophy of law, moral philosophy, art, language, sports, politics. Heck, even corporations have.
There's also mechanical philosophy, which I found to be very interesting.
Mechanical philosophy.
Yes, it was basically the rise in the Industrial Revolution gave way to mechanical philosophy, and that mechanical philosophy is what gave rise to the watchmaker argument.
So stupid.
Pretty much, yeah.
This is why I can't. This is why I don't take philosophizers seriously. I'm going to argue about the philosophy of mechanics. Why?
Let's see.
Exactly, JL. That's a perfect answer.
I'm trying to see what was going on in the chat. I have no idea. It was a Turing test too. If you've not caught it, your inner fish is worth a watch. I'll have to check that out.
Their own philosophies. It therefore stands to reason that the philosophy of philosophy, or simply metaphilosophy, should likewise explain what it is that philosophers do, why they do it, what value it brings, and how to tell the difference between competent or incompetent practitioners.
Now, this is interesting. So, looking at the philosophy of philosophy, just like he was doing like the philosophy of science, and he broke it down. What scientists do, why science matters, what value does science bring, and how to tell who is doing science correctly. So that's smart. Like, what do scientists do? They explain things.
Right.
Okay. Why science matters? Because it gives us mechanistic explanations that allow us to form predictive models that allow us a better understanding of our world and to better and ultimately better improve our chances of survivability.
Right.
Because we understand our environment better, the world that we live in. Okay. So what value does it bring? Obviously, it improves our survivability matrices and it makes our lives more comfortable.
Right.
It gets us what we need. So, and then how to tell it's doing it correctly? Because the results don't comport with reality. Because the predictive models fail. That's how we know who's doing it incorrectly. Right. But you look at this, philosophy of philosophy. What do philosophers do? I'm asking you.
They think.
Right. Why philosophy matters? Why philosophy matters?
Well, it matters because, again, like I said, it presents us the questions.
Exactly. But what value does philosophy bring?
It's a beginning to an answer.
That's good. Now, how do you tell who's doing it correctly?
The ones that don't presuppose bullshit. The ones who don't presuppose, ones who don't ask a question with it already being answered in their mind.
But you see that you've cut out swaths of philosophy in doing this.
You goddamn Skippy. And I have no problem doing it. Presuppositionalism is bullshit because, again, if you're asking me a question, why is this gold bar gold? Well, you're assuming it's gold. No, it's gold. Okay. Well, what makes it gold? Because I said it's gold.
What makes it gold? It's fucking atomic weight. You
no. Well, right. Exactly. Instead of saying because the atomic weight matches. No, it's because I said so.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? That's the part of the presuppositionalism I don't like. I'm not saying that precepts are wrong all the time. I'm just saying that they're intellectually dishonest when you presuppose anything. Why does it rain? It rains because God is crying. What? What kind of fucking stupid shit is that?
That always bugs me whenever you're watching a movie and then there's a funeral scene and it's always raining. That always
right.
I understand the imagery that they need to go with. I get it.
Do you?
I do. It's a narrative trope. It's a narrative trope. That's all it is. But it's still like in my logical brain. I'm kind of like
signify. What is the significance of rain in a film scene,
cleansing.
Or in
transition? It's transition. It's transition of the hero. Yeah, it's the hero from one point to another, and then the death of the individual is the I guess you could say is the lever of that moment, or it's what it hinges on.
The catalyst.
The death of one person is the catalyst. Thank you.
Yeah.
The death of that person, and then the rain represents the movement from one place to another. Right. The changing of that, and I get that. Yeah. I understand it as a narrative deal, but it's still good. It doesn't have to be raining at a fucking funeral in order for the hero to change, but.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but if the again, this is a kind of the philosophy of filmmaking comes in, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to be, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing either. Kind of depends. It depends on what story you're trying to tell.
And what you're trying to convey about your protagonist, exactly.
Right.
So,
which is where that's people doing it right.
Let me see. Oh, I see. I see someone else. Did I see Tina? Yes, Tina, who's going by Mystique right now. Good to see you. It says in bed, so just learning.
Supposed to tell anybody her real name.
I didn't do it. Clyde did.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, PhD Tony's riling it up. I don't know what's going on there, but he's riling it up. Let's see.
So how exactly do you think that the community of professional PhD level philosophers officially define their field? Simple. They don't. They honestly and truly do not know what it means to be a philosopher, despite decades of personal commitment to that very profession. It's weird, too, because it's not exactly that difficult to just observe a group of professionals at work and then enumerate the various tasks they collectively tend to engage in. The way I see it, most professional philosophers in the academic world are essentially just a bunch of cultural curators. Human beings have been debating the same foundational questions throughout history, and there is real value in cataloging the variety of answers which develop over time. In this context, it simply doesn't matter if the community is unable to pick and choose which views are correct, because the very idea of a correct philosophical stance is utterly meaningless. At best, we can only explore the perspectives of influential figures, articulate their claims more succinctly, summarize the various critiques, and then enable students to figure out which answers work best for themselves. If we like, we may further identify an applied category of philosophy, which is defined by the act of doing philosophy or merely philosophizing. Anyone can do it, and it's simply a matter of doing exactly what we just established. A formal articulation of definitions, goals, values, presuppositions, beliefs, whatever, followed by a thorough exploration of supporting arguments, logical implications, and practical consequences. Successful practitioners are thus measured by their overall degree of cultural influence, but I believe that we can also reasonably evaluate their merits by examining certain objective criteria. For instance, I personally think that good philosophers must clearly define their terms, rigorously formulate their arguments in accordance with established rules of inference, and then show how such conclusions are relevant to real-world problems.
So we see that Darth does not do this. I think it's pretty plainly obvious.
No, he doesn't do any of this.
Yeah.
Well, see, but here's the thing. Darth does not engage in philosophical debate or philosophical conversations. He engages in a script.
Right.
So there's nothing philosophical about what Darth Dawkins does.
Oh, right. I see Tony Regime in the house. Or it was Tony Regime? Yeah, Tony Regime's in the house. Good to see you. Says the rain also emphasizes the sadness of the occasion. And there could be said that same thing. And Heat Shield says, howdy critters. Good to see you, Heat Shield.
What's up,
I want to make sure I got everybody. Yes, and yeah, I think it was Prime Red or was oh no, it was And the George said. I think somebody pointed out on one stream where there could be 1,000 people in the chat, and I would still try to say hi to everybody.
Yeah,
I like saying. I just want to let them know I see them, and I do, and I'm ecstatic that they chose to come and hang out at the stream. I love all of my audience. They're all amazing, and
even Otangelo. Ooh.
Everybody brings something to the table. Not everything they bring is great. But
look, look. I know a lot of people don't like Otangelo. I don't mind Otangelo. I he's entertaining. I don't think he necessarily means to be entertaining, but he's entertaining for me. I like when he debunks himself and his own evidence. I mean, I find that shit funny. He's a character, and I think that's what he's trying to be. I think he's trying to be a character. He's just not. He's not good at separating his feelings from being that character.
I consider him the jester of the court.
Sure.
He tells a story, and we learn something from it about ourselves, and we recognize what we are not to do.
Right. And that's the thing. I don't think he either doesn't understand that's his position, or he doesn't like that that's his position. But even in like the Darth Dawkins circle, he's a jester.
Right.
They use him as a means to get entertainment, either through ridicule.
He's their jester. Yeah.
Right. And I've never really had a problem with Otangelo. I know he said some pretty horrific shit in the past, and I tend to not let things like that bother me so much, because people are going to think what they want to think. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it. Doesn't mean I do agree with it. Right.
Yeah.
Otangelo said some really shitty things about the transgenderism and homosexuality. Cool. You're not down with that, Otangelo. That's cool. You don't have to be.
Hey, Soot Kettle, good to see you. Says, now my earworm for the next 24 hours will be the Philosopher's Drinking Song. Thank you. Very true. Yes, God equals the square root of -1. Says, precept is not an argument or a demonstration. Precept is a tactic devised to shut the mouth of the non-believer. Revelation is their argument, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's how you know that a presuppositionalist, especially the ones like Darth Dawkins, are completely and utterly intellectually dishonest.
Right.
Because their position is, well, my position is true because it was specially revealed to me. And the only person who can verify that is me. So
Right.
therefore,
first person experience. Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't work. I'm sorry, man. It doesn't work.
This is interesting. Just a quick answer. We'll jump back to the video real quick because it's almost over. Trude Hell says, what is the opposite of revelation? I'm inclined to say discovery. What about you?
Discovery, I think, would be the best. Yeah. An actual real discovery.
Yeah.
Not discovery disguised as revelation.
Because revelation is given to you. Discovery, you go out and you
go out and you find.
Yeah. Yeah. You go out and find.
And you can show me where you found it, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, Marcus Dresden. Oh, Tangelo sucks. just basic. Yes, thank you, Commander Darklight. Cry Tangelo. Get the Cry Tangelo emoji. Yep. I love that emoji. Yep. Probably the best emoji I've ever made. No, Dark Dawkins Red Duct. Maybe it's Ty. Dark Dawkins Red Duct Tape.
I think they like the Cry Tangelo one best. I think
Cry Tangelo one the best.
Right. If you were to poll your audience, that would be where they would like, no, it's Cry Tangelo. Period. Yeah.
Cry Tangelo. All right.
In other words, what do you mean by that? How do you know that? And why should anyone care? Again, this may only be my personal philosophy, but at least it's a qualified philosophy from an experienced professional within science and engineering. Just because goals and definitions are arbitrary, that does not mean anyone is free to concoct whatever self-serving nonsense they like. If you expect your ideas to be clear, informative, and compelling, then there are just certain rules you're going to have to learn to follow. If, however, you don't care about any of those things, well then by all means, go ahead and mash your keyboard with whatever vapid gibberish comes to mind. Just don't act surprised when the rest of the world tends to have a hard time adopting your conclusions. But who knows? Maybe I'm being overly simplistic. Maybe you have an entirely different perspective on how philosophy ought to be defined. That's great, and I would absolutely love to hear all about the many different nuances within competing schools of thought. But whatever views you have, can we please stop deluding ourselves under the pretentious fantasy that the so-called philosophers possess some kind of magical insight into the fundamental truths of anything? Academic philosophy is not about being right or wrong, but about exploring the questions themselves within some cultural or historical context. Yep. If that is how you view philosophy, then it is perfectly safe to say that the field is very much alive and well.
And I think that just as an anecdote there, I think that what a lot of people, a lot of individuals, especially, places like Discord, the problem that they do is that they forget the historical context of those lines of thought.
And well, yeah, they forget the historical context of the lines of thought. They forget the reason why those historical contexts are there.
Yeah.
Like they forget what the exercise of engaging in a philosophical conversation is.
If, however, you want hard, definitive answers, then sooner or later you're going to have to start imposing some basic standards. In that sense, I'm afraid to say that philosophy is most definitely dead because it was technically never alive in the first place. Science is the ultimate authority in that realm because science actually has standards for what correct answers are supposed to look like.
Exactly.
Science, therefore, doesn't need philosophy in any direct sense because science is a philosophy. So until mainstream academic philosophers learn to impose a philosophy of their own, they shall forever remain on the sidelines as other institutions carry on the real work of research and discovery.
There you go.
Maximal says it's scientism.
Scientism, which is a word that throw around like it's some sort of it's some sort of insult. Like, well, that's just scientism. That's your religion, the religion of scientism. Like, give me a fucking break. No, I do not hold I don't have like an altar to. I don't have an altar to Einstein that I worship at and give.
Right.
I'm not sitting here like flagellating myself in front of Neil deGrasse Tyson. Oh, God, don't do this.
So is that corporal mortification?
Whatever what is
using
the
a silice and
just
corporal mortification.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay, so let me see here real quick. So apparently there's some wackiness going on in the chat. So I think it's over a Richard Dawkins quote. I don't know what's happening. I don't even know what the Richard Dawkins quote is. So
Maximal says, "What do you mean? My family's going to Galapagos to worship Darwin each year." That's funny. That's another thing that all these dishonest fuckers need to stop doing. When they talk about, like, whenever you get into an argument with a creationist, they well, you guys believe in Darwinism. Well, we don't believe in Darwinism, but we do believe that we do recognize that Darwin started this conversation, and that there have been so many people that have come after Darwin to further define it. Like, Darwin is not where we stop. Just because you guys use shit that's fucking 2,000 years old don't mean that we do. We try and stay current, modern, relevant.
Exactly. It's ancient thinking is what it is. And that's why, that always got me. It's like when I was in that debate with A Bit of Orange, and he was like, he started going like, he kept bringing Darwin. And I was like, and I was just like, why do you keep bringing up Darwinism?
Because it's a gotcha thing, right? It's a name drop for them. That's what it is, right? It's a name drop. If I can say Darwinism and I can prove that Darwin is wrong, or if I can say that all you're doing is think about Darwin, and show the things that are wrong with Darwin, that means I won something. Well, no, it doesn't, because you seem to forget that we don't stop with Darwin. There are centuries of information that have come out since Darwin that have further defined evolution and the theory of evolution.
Okay, so let me go here. So I'm looking up this up just so I could try and put this to rest. So Dawkins said that. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be able to go through all of his stuff. So in essence, I'm trying to break this down. So by way of example, Dawkins proved using evolution as a basis that every single human had to have a single fish ancestor. My fish had to have been your fish, is the quote that he's talking about. That's what the quote is. Let me see. Short walk through the crowd through a short thought experiment, magic, blah 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 blah. Okay, so last year, right before publishing, this was in, what was this? This was in 2012. Last year, right before publishing his illustrated children's book, The Magic of Reality, Richard Dawkins appeared at the New Yorker Festival and walked the crowd through a short thought experiment. Imagine pulling out your family genealogy. Now snap a photo of each ancestor going back 185 million generations. What would it show? First off, your very distant grandfather was a fish. Secondly, you can never put your finger on the very first human being, a proverbial Adam and Eve. 185 million snapshots can never capture that one moment, is what he was talking about. So this was, and that was reported in Biology Video Science, openculture.com. Richard Dawkins explains why there was never a first human being. And then, so yeah, that's where that's coming from. And is where I can find that best one. So most likely it was what this was a thought experiment that he was walking people through in respect to that. So it didn't come out of a journal, but he was basically, your fish was my fish. That it was essentially, you go back far enough for fish. It essentially was a fish. Now I'm not saying it's like a fish that exists today, but something that was in the ocean swimming. He used the term fish. So I'll just let his breakdown stand on its own merits. So, but there you go. So I think that's where so hopefully we quelled the little issue that's going on in the live chat. So
but my fish is better than your fish.
My fish is stronger than your fish.
My fish is bigger than your fish.
My fish has a bigger dong than your fish. So
why does your fish have a dong?
They use, let's see, and the George said they use Darwinism for evolution as if evolution is Darwin's idea and his alone. They don't understand that Darwin only described the mechanism of natural selection. He didn't discover evolution. It was very foundational thinking. Exactly. Foundational thought. That's all it was. And we ancient foundations of thinking were wrong.
And a lot of ways. Look, so, yeah. I will say this. I do understand the idea of attacking the foundation. But the problem comes when you attack a foundation that's already been attacked by the scientific method, and then fixed.
Right.
You know.
I see Mr. I see Sean Alexander's in the house. Good to see you, Sean Alexander, a member of the Godless Army. Thank you so much.
Alexandri.
Alexandri. Sorry. Dude, dumbass. Do you ever read that? It's about a prison break. I think you'd like it. Maybe we should put that in how to. Mr. Mallory, good to see you. Says I forgot you were doing this. It's all good, but another member of the Godless Army. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming out.
John Alexander, I wasn't calling you a dumbass. I was quoting a film, just so you know.
It was Shawshank Redemption. By Alexandri
Dumbass.
And he's like, dumbass.
Let me see that.
But I like that he gave him that. That's the kind of guy Andy was.
Yeah.
I mean, this is totally
he didn't make fun of him.
He didn't make fun of him. He said, is it possible the book actually says dumbass?
Yeah.
It's like, it could have been a typo. He gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
It's like, oh, it's Dumas.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then he was like, oh, Andy wouldn't make fun of me. He's just correcting, I wouldn't, I've never read this. So I like that. That characterization was brilliant. It was just
that's one thing that
beautiful little moment that they caught. That Darabont.
That's important. Darabont is. I will venture to say that I haven't seen anybody do a Stephen King adaptation better than Frank Darabont.
Right. Just he has a handle on the subject material. It just really is.
His way of developing the story within the story, and then his storytelling in his film, the way he shoots a film. I can't think of anybody who has done a better job of adapting especially the more dramatic Stephen King stuff.
Oh, he has a grasp of the human condition.
Yeah.
That, and you know what it reminded me? Let me say this. And the Jordan said, if we evolved from fish, why there's still fish? And these SpongeBob
because that's not how this works.
Right.
That's not how any of this works.
Remember how the first season of The Walking Dead was produced by Frank Darabont?
Yeah.
There is a moment after Rick gets out of the hospital and he makes it back home. Okay. And everyone is gone.
Right.
There's a moment where Rick breaks down in his house and he's like feeling the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, is this? And then he's like, is this real?
Is this real? Yeah.
Because it's like he can't even fathom it. And then he starts like slapping himself in the head to try and wake up. And he was like that moment that's a Frank Darabont moment.
Yes.
That is a Darabont moment, and he captures those things so brilliantly.
Yep. It was a mistake. Right. It was a mistake for them to let him go.
Right.
A huge mistake, and I understand why they did it. Right. I understand, but they haven't found anybody. They found like individual directors to get out good episodes here and there, but as far as like the first season of The Walking Dead is always going to be the best season, storytelling wise, right? Because everything was just put together so well. Because Frank Darabont knows how to tell a story. He knows how to, he knows how to film. He knows how to work with his DPs. He knows how to work with his directors. He knows how to work with his set designers. He knows how to work with his actors.
Right.
And to get the best result. He may not be the nicest person out there, but he's going to tell a great story.
Yes. Sean Alexander, that's okay. I'm a Sagittarius, so most people call me a horse's ass anyway. Sagittarius, no, Capricorn's a horse fish. Capricorn is the horse fish, I think, right?
I have no idea. You're asking the wrong person. I don't know anything.
Yeah, that's some astrology. That's some astrology shit. Yeah. Let me see here. And the George says, my fish can beat up your fish. And fish, have you smelled my ex-girlfriend?
Oh,
that's great. God equals. That's fantastic. And Fred Knotts is in the house. Says, evening all.
Hey, Fred.
Good to see you, Fred Knotts. So yeah, I think that we can quell the thing about the fish. Well, okay, I got off on this Darabont topic on that moment where it was a total digression. What were we talking about before that?
Who cares? No, I'm kidding. We were talking about how bad certain people do philosophy.
No, we were on a topic that I totally went off. We were talking about, okay, no, you brought up Shawshank.
Yep.
And fuck.
Yep. See, that's what happens. That's what we call stream of consciousness.
Son of a bitch. I knew if I derailed myself, I was going to get off. We were on something. We were on something so good.
We were on it, but then we said, squirrel.
Okay, it was the moment when Alexander Dumas, you brought that up. Oh, we're going to be hunting in the fucking sand all day like old men with fucking metal detectors.
We're almost there, JL. We only have like, what, 30 years? That's going to be JL and Johnny arguing about two old men with some fucking metal detectors, goofy ass shorts.
Go ahead, like we'll just meet at Texoma and just wander the shores.
Dale, I got gold over here. That ain't no gold, you dumbass. That's copper.
Oh, that's a question I wanted to ask for those who know those. We named it gold. I'm pretty sure it was named gold before we knew its atomic weight. Okay, but so just because I say something is gold, if I say that a rock is gold, I was going to say, because I made the statement, it's like, how do you know it's gold? It's like, because we named it gold. It's like, no, because, and I said, because its atomic weight is that of gold. But we named it before we knew its atomic weight.
Right.
So,
see, but that's the beauty. Okay, so that's the beauty part when we talk about language, right? When we talk, there's only one universal language, one, period. There's only one. I don't care what anybody says, it's only one.
Mathematics.
Yeah. Right? Because it doesn't matter what you call one.
Or for our English listeners, maths.
Yeah.
Yes.
No matter what you call one, a single item is a single item. Regardless of what that single item is, it all boils down to one.
Right.
Or none. 1 and 0. Binary. We didn't even get down to two. The truth. Off, on or off, 1, 0. The truth value, no truth value. But yeah, I mean, that's the beauty part about it. So it doesn't matter what we call it. That's like conceptually, it's all the same shit.
Right. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, I see Mr. E-Man is in the house. Good to see you, Mr. E-Man. Thank you for joining. And I see, that was Lawler's Corner says, true. What the fuck are you on about philosophy is not true? Oh, Trude. Who's it? Trude.
Trude says philosophy has not evolved. How about theology?
Philosophy isn't a concept. Well, I think that we can meet in the middle on that because Trude said, but philosophy has not evolved. How about theology? So that's an interesting question, and I think we can say. And then Lawler's Corner said, philosophy is in a constant state of flux. True. Philosophy does adapt to new ideas that come up as the society within that they are born, as that society expands and grows and more collective voices join the conversation. So philosophy does adapt, but I wouldn't say that philosophy in itself has evolved. The processes are still very much the same. The line of reasoning is it's human reasoning is still very much the same. And there's still essentially just questions oftentimes about things that we can't answer.
Right.
Because the questions that we can answer are answered by science, and they no longer become philosophical questions anymore. So essentially, there are questions about things they're the proposed things about things that we're unable to know. And then those questions die off once science has explained them, once our technology or our understanding of the world has gotten to the point that we get them. Now, Sean Alexander, you got me saying it. Sean Alexander is correct, says theology evolves all the time, or at least it changes if it's the followers that don't evolve. And I would actually agree with theology evolves all the time because we have seen the evolution of theology since 100,000 years ago when human beings began to ritualistically bury their dead, or at least that's the first evidence that we found that humans began to ritualistically bury their dead and paint things on walls to that respect. So when human beings were engaged in just animism 100,000 years ago, and then we have what we have today, that is obviously an evolution. As our groups get larger and more voices join the conversation, more people have ideas, you will get a variation of what gets added to the pot. It's very much a crock pot of whatever everybody throws in. And the more people you have, the more stuff comes in. But it doesn't meet everybody's palate. So you need to adjust and move things around. And you need to put in more ingredients, add this, take this, separate this out. Now we have this giant pot, all these things. Not everybody likes it. Screw it. Let's take half of what's in this pot, put it over here, and adjust this pot so that these people will like it. And then the people who like this pot can stay with that one. And then it just keeps getting changed as more people come in, more palettes come in, and it just keeps evolving.
Yep.
Until eventually the stew that you have at the end is nothing near what the stew began as.
Right. It started as chicken soup. Now we're looking at pork bellies.
Exactly.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, there you go. So, but that's pretty much it. So, yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree that theology does evolve, that it does, it's forced to evolve, like languages evolve. Languages evolve, philosophy itself, I think, adapts, but I don't think evolves, because we are, in many places, we are still asking the same questions that they asked 2,000 years ago. Whereas science is not asking those questions. It's asking some of them. Like, where did the universe come from? So shit like that, quantum, whatever. But when it comes down to it, I think philosophy adapts, especially in response to the power of religion or the power of the government, because it involves asking questions about things, especially questions we might not be able to know, or let's say contradictory lines of thought. And if the government doesn't appreciate that, doesn't want you doing that, or the religion doesn't want you doing that, then the philosophy adapts. But I don't think it evolves. And yes, I saw that. And the George says, we've seen theology evolve in many ways. A Christian from 1000 AD wouldn't recognize Christianity today. So I agree. I think my stew metaphor works, or my stew analogy. The soup from the beginning to what we got from today, I think that kind of summed it out. I think I may pull back on that, or I may use that again every once in a while. Rennick says, Heraclitus on being and time, not too unlike modern existentialists in terms of flux. Alpha K91, good to see you. Another member of the Godless Army. Thank you so much. Alpha K91 says 2 hours late. It's okay, bud. I went a little early. Sometimes I go at like 7. But I decided to go a little bit early because I do have some things I have to do with Week in Horror podcast here in a little bit. So just waiting for the other guys to sign on. And Boomer says, does that mean elephants believe in God? I don't think so. I wouldn't think they'd have a concept of it.
JL, I have to compliment you on your lighting. You did. Now something happened. I don't know what happened. Did you change your computer screen?
I haven't changed anything.
Well, you looked really, really good there for a second. Maybe it's your camera.
It might be. Sometimes the focus is a little, kind of, I mean,
for a second there, like the lighting was really good. Like you don't have that dome light on your head anymore. And then
I don't.
Yeah, it looks nice.
I see it. Yeah. The lighting has come along quite well, and I love how I've gotten my cases where people can actually see them. I left them white this time.
Yeah,
but I do kind of dig it.
Yeah, I think that's a better color.
Yeah, I kind of dig it with the grain. Cool.
It's not as that's pretty cool. It's not as harsh. It doesn't blow out like the white does, but no, like I said, I gotta say, you're looking real snazzy.
Boomer says the pink beard improves camera quality.
All right. Let's see here. You do this. See, look, pink didn't really. This is that
looks blonde.
I know. I swear, I like I said, I did the lifter stuff that my wife said to use, and then I put in this. The pink that I got is like this. It was the closest that I could find to the actual pink for the ribbon, and I left it in there for like an hour, and it did not.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
I realize I am going to have Angela touch this up at some points during the month because I'm going to leave it for the month. This is going to be pink for the month. I'm not worried about donations and everything. I want to show my solidarity and everybody who jumped in and helped Week in Horror get to where it's at. I think we're almost at the 500 subscriber mark.
That's awesome.
So very, very close. You guys were amazing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this for the full month. I kind of like it. I dig it. It came out way better than I anticipated. So yay, we'll do that. Let me see.
I think I'll put another thing of color on there tonight.
Oh yeah.
See, maybe it'll take a little better this time.
Let me mute that, and then I'll actually do this because we're only 3 away. Three away from the 500 mark. So let me go ahead and do this. Let me paste that in there. If you dig scary movies, if you like, we talk about them there as filmmakers, Johnny O, myself, Alex, Eugene, that I just put the link in the live chat. We're 3 away from 500. If we could crest 500, that would be fucking amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. All right. So, look at that. I'm getting more spam. Oh, good.
Spam. What kind of spam?
Over on Week in Horror, I occasionally get those spam comments.
Oh, hey, you can see me naked here.
That one was a whole bunch of Chinese.
Oh,
it was weird. So, yeah. But it automatically, I've got this episode automatically shuts him down. So I'm really happy about that. Johnny has a K. Parker beard. Says Mr. Malort. Suit Kettle says, I'm having a pink bar on my avatar for this month, inspired by you. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you, Suit Kettle. I appreciate that. That's amazing.
By the way, if anybody wants to participate in the fundraiser, we have you have both links in the description. Yeah.
Both links are in the description.
So based on the shit that's gone on this past year with previous fundraisers, in order to keep full transparency, I've asked that everybody donate to one of two places, either the PayPal link, which is a donation link, or directly to the Pink Fund. That way it's 100% transparent. Everybody can see this much money come in, this much money went out. Make it super simple. And again, if you don't want to do the donations to the PayPal, that's why we included the link directly to the Pink Fund, which is what we're raising money for throughout the month of October. So
hell yes. All right. So, overall, Johnny, what did you think of the vid?
I mean, the guy is pretty much spot on with everything he says when it comes to philosophy being. I mean, his title is clickbaitish, which is good because the video really does talk about the problems with philosophy, especially in modern settings, right? Mm-hmm. You got too many people that want to cling on to philosophy like that's the catch-all be-all, and it's not supposed to be a catch-all be-all.
Right.
It's supposed to be the starting point. This is where we start. Now, where you finish is based on what I would call empiricism. I think empiricism has to be where every philosophical conversation should take us to empiricism, because that's what actually answers those philosophical questions. But yeah, I think the guy was pretty spot on.
Yeah, I agree with it. Yeah, that's why I wanted to share it now. I also asked another individual, one of the members, it tickles me that people call us the new horseman on Discord. It said that somebody referred to us as that, but I asked Xerxes as well if he wanted to pop on the stream and talk a little bit about this, but he was more interested in going after, because he's got a real problem with Christian apologetics. And so he's more interested in talking about that. So it was like, cool. So, and I was like, well, and thankfully I asked both of you. And I was like, because I think Xerxes and you might have an interesting conversation in that and interesting input. But he said, he was like, he really likes going after apologetics. Philosophy in itself, he really has no use for. So I think he knew it would just be kind of like a repeat of what he already thinks.
Sure.
Yeah. Robert Caslow. So have you been talking about philosophy? Just a little bit.
Just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit.
Just we're gonna do this for 2 hours and 9 minutes. So out of the 2 hours and 9 minutes, I think 10 of those minutes have been not philosophy.
Yeah, pretty much been. Let me see here. I got a message from Discord. Let me see here.
JL, please stop making fun of me.
Did somebody say that?
No, I was just guessing that's what the message was.
No, it wasn't that. Like, why do you lie about me? I try to give you the information, but you refuse to see it. And it's like, no, your information is bullshit.
No, you refuse to see that your information contradicts itself.
All right. Well, I mean, this has been a pretty awesome stream. So had some amazing people up in here and some good.
That's what my grandfather used to say.
Fred Nazi. So 2 hours of philosophy. So you basically covered the whole topic. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Sean Alexander says Xerxes really enjoys making Darth clones look like idiots. Of course, they are good at doing that on there. It's not hard. It is.
Again, another thing my grandfather used to say.
It's not hard at all. All right, let me see. Oh, dang it! What is this?
JL Warren, important Discord message, says Boomer.
I saw he linked me something in counter apologetics.
Okay, Boomer. Such a shit joke.
What the fuck is? I don't know what that is. It's hilarious looking, and it was funny, but it was strange. Anyway, but yeah, I think that's a good place to call it. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes in, and we do have a breakdown that we have to get to. I have to contact Eugene, and so we can do a breakdown on the next episode of Week in Horror.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure everybody's on top of that. It's going to be a good month. We got good stuff coming this month. Of course, it's the spooky month, so we love October.
It's the best month.
Heat Shield says, how often does Marvin the Martian complain to you on Discord? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Heat Shield. What was this? How many camel eyes can fit on the head of a pin?
Depends on the size of the pin.
Robert Caslow. Yeah, I guess.
They want pole dancing Darth.
Pole dancing Darth. I don't know if I can make that into an emoji. There's just so much detail in there. I don't know if I shrunk it down. I don't know if it'll be that good.
That's what I was saying. So once you get, I'm going to put it into my Streamlabs. Once you get your Streamlabs game down, you can change your like new subscriber, right? That's when I got I got a new subscriber. You get Gary Busey, banging around and dancing along like an idiot, right? I think that's just hilarious. But you could like mix it up, put a bunch of different ones in there. So we could do pole dancing Darth in there. That would be
cool. That'd be awesome. I have to use that. Yeah, I gotta figure out because it's complicated. I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm fucking lost and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck am I?
It takes a while, but yeah.
And Sean Alexander, oh crap! Now I can't stop hearing Otangelo ahead saying, "Where's the kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. The rabbit has stolen the space modulator."
Well,
how was that?
Oh,
was that pretty good?
It'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do. That'll do, pig.
My wife is coming down like a naked Mortal Kombat character.
Yes, Boomer. Yes, Boomer is the one that created the pole dancing Darth. The pole dancing Darth was Boomer Stein's creation. So
yes,
thank you.
You still have not gotten your eBay gift card. That is true, Boomer. It's in. Oh, I can't put it in the mail. I have to email it to you.
Boomer, yes, Boomer deserves credit for pole dancing Darth. That was his creation. Yes. All right. Well, I think that's a good point. Well, I think it's 2 hours, almost 2 hours, 15 minutes. And I don't like to hold up people too long because people do have lives, and those lives are better spent, doing things other than listening to me drone on for hours and hours. So I want to thank everybody for coming in. It was amazing. This is an awesome stream. We got to look at a really cool video that I found to be interesting and I wanted to share with people. And you all have been fantastic. Thank you to all of my channel members. I appreciate your support. You guys help to make, you all help to make this channel possible, help to make my created content possible. So I really appreciate it. You guys helped me do that last one, that last Greg Locke video where I, split punch Greg Locke in the Joey's like Johnny Cage. That was a lot of fun. I got more stuff coming up. So if you really dig the channel and you like what we do here, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Be sure to hit the like button. It really helps me with the algorithm. And thank you again to all of my channel members. Remember, those memberships are available if you like what you see and you'd like to support here, if you can. If not, I love it when you guys stop by, share the vid. It's always a blast. So, and of course, if you dig scary movies, check us out. I put the link in the description, or put the link there, also in the description of Week in Horror, the horror film podcast that Johnny O and I are both on with Alex and Eugene, where we talk about horror movies. We deep dive them as filmmakers. So they're not really just reviews, but we really try to go deep into what made these things. So absolutely love what we do over there, and your support helps us make that show a reality. So thank you all so much for that. Soon we will get to 1,000 subs over at Week in Horror, and I can have channel memberships there. And you imagine the horror emojis I'm going to make for you when we get there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So
let's see, Jason, Freddy, Chucky.
There'll be a lot.
The brains zombie from Return of the Living Dead, yeah.
So thank you all so very, very much. Sorry that Otangelo didn't show up. Am I sorry he didn't show up? But yeah, he did. Show up.
You enjoy when he comes in. Come on, it's fun.
Otangelo's
fun. He's fun.
Watch him freak out and everything. So thank you all so very, very much for joining me. I will see you guys.
And he always brings a good old bowl of pasta.
Oh, this is true. I will see you guys all in the next one. Thank you, Johnny O, for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. So as always, be safe. Be excellent to each other. And together, we can bridge the divide.